Happy cold day, everyone. I'm going to make two videos for you guys for regular stats. Make sure that you write these down in your notes. That is an expectation. In videos, I do go faster than I normally would as a classroom teacher, right? Because I'm making a video, it goes faster. So pause where you need to. First thing you need to know with beginning probability is how is probability written? And probability can be written as a decimal, a fraction, or a percentage. It will also be a number between 0 and 1, okay? There will never be a number greater than 1. There will never be a number that's less than 0 for probability. Now I want to talk about just beginning probability, and what I want you to do is I want you to draw this spinner that I'm going to show you in a second. So we have this spinner here, right? And it has different numbers and different colors on it, and we want to know some things about this for playing a game. Yes, I know there's not an actual spinner on there, but you can imagine it, right? Okay, so we see this P parentheses 3. Well, how do we read that? We read that as the probability of spinning a 3. So over here I have the probability of an S. S stands for success, okay? So we read this as the probability of success. And our success in this case is a 3. And how we figure that out is we figure out how many of our successes do we have divided by our total outcomes. Okay, so to figure out the probability of a 3, we say, well, how many successes do we have? How many 3s do we have? And if we look at our spinner, we have 1 3 divided by how many total outcomes? There's 8 outcomes. And that's our answer. You can leave it just like that because you can write it as a fraction. Now, again, moving on, the probability of a yellow. How many yellows do we have? There's 2 of them divided by our total numbers, 8. Let's do another one. The probability that a number is greater than 5. So our success is a number greater than 5. So that's 6, 7, and 8. How many are there? There's 3 of them divided by 8. Moving on. The probability of not a red. Well, how many are not a red? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that are not a red. Divided by 8 total outcomes. Now, there's a rule that you need to know that could go with this kind, and that's something called the complement rule. Sometimes it's easier than counting up how many not red is to figure out how many are red, the opposite. So that's the complement rule. A and the opposite of A. There was a lot to count up. There was 7 to count up here. Maybe it would just be easier to count how many are red. Well, there's 1 red divided by 8 total, so 1/8 is the opposite, the probability of a red. And then we take 1 minus that, and that's what the complement rule is instead of figuring out your success, figure out the opposite of your success because it's easier, and then do 1 minus that. The success in our case was not a red, okay? Well, what's the opposite of not a red? A red. 1 minus 1/8 is 7/8. It's your call on how you want to approach those. Now we're going to move into something where we have a key word. The probability of a blue or a red, okay? When you see the word or, that's a key word. You need to use something called the addition rule. The addition rule is right here. The probability of A plus the probability of B minus the probability of both happening. Okay, so let's do that. The probability of a blue or red. So we want to figure out the probability of a blue. There's 1, 2, 3 blues out of 8 total. Plus the probability of a red. Well, how many red do we have? There's 1 red divided by 8 total, minus the probability of both of them happening. Well, do we have any on here that are blue and red together at the same time? No, we don't. So that both means they have to happen at the same time. Well, I can't have a blue and a red happening at the same time when I spin the spinner, so we don't have to subtract anything. That's the catch with the addition rule. Sometimes you will not have to subtract that. That means our events are called mutually exclusive. Mutually exclusive events means the 2 events can't happen at the same time. Okay, so What should you have learned from this or? Whenever you see or, you need to use the addition rule. Add them up together. We never finished adding them up. 3/8 plus 1/8 equals 4/8, which is a 50% chance. Let's talk about the probability of being even or greater than 5. Again, we see that or, okay? We click in there. There we go. So we're going to scroll up. First, we want to figure out the probability of having an even number. So there's an even number 2, 4, 6, and 8. There's 4 even numbers out of total of 8 outcomes, plus a number greater than 5. How many numbers are greater than 5? Well, we already figured that out. That's 3. 3 divided by 8. Now we have to ask ourselves, are there any slots on the spinner where they are greater than 5 and even? So we look and we say, okay, we need a number greater than 5 that is also even. And I have 2 out of 8 that are greater than 5 and also even. So both happening at the same time. Let's go back. I have even numbers, 4 out of 8. I have numbers that are greater than 5, 3 out of 8. Now we need to subtract these both happening at the same time. So even and greater than 5. 6 and 8, there's 2 of them. Minus 2 divided by 8. So 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 minus 2 is 5. When we add fractions, we keep that denominator, so it's 5 divided by 8 is our final answer. Okay, what about this one? Red and even. So red and even just means both at the same time. How many are red and even? Well, I only have 1 red, and that's odd. So that's a probability of 0. Okay, so look this over, see if you have any questions, and we're going to move on to the next page. What I want you to do first is I want you just to draw this spinner, and on the side we're going to spin this spinner twice. And please write down, when we have something that's happening like this, where we're spinning something twice, where we're doing 2 of something, it is helpful to write the sample space of all possible outcomes out. What is a sample space? A sample space is just everything that could happen. So when I'm spinning the spinner, I could spin a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. That would be the sample space, right? That's everything that could happen, and then also the probabilities that go with it. But first, we're going to just talk about what could happen. Okay, so you should have written all of this down by now. Now, what do I mean? Write the sample space of all the possible outcomes. I'm spinning the spinner twice. So when I do things that happen twice, I like to make a grid. So we're going to make a grid right now. And now I'm going to use some different colors to help us out. The green is going to represent my first spin. So on my first spin, I could get a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. Now, again, I could also have a second spin, right? Because we're spinning it twice. We'll use purple. On the second spin, I could get a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. Now I'm going to fill this table out. And I'm going to try to stick with the color coding, but I don't know how neat it's going to be, so bear with me. I'm actually going to pause for a second here, and I'm going to fill it out so you don't have to wait with me. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back. All right, I'm glad I paused that because that took a while. So what's going on now, just to sum up, we have a spinner here. 1, 2, 3, 4, we're spinning it twice. What should you know? Anytime you do anything twice, make a grid like I did. The green represents our first spin. The purple represents our second spin. Now what's going on in here? This is everything that would happen. So I first spin a 1, then I spin a 1. I first spin a 2, then I spin a 1. First spin a 3, then I spin a 1, so on and so forth. Okay? You should have this chart written down. So pause the video right now and make the same chart. Now I want to know what's the probability of an odd number on the first spin and an even number on the second spin. So I'm going to use my highlighter right now. An odd number on the first spin, or where is an odd number on the first spin? An odd number on the first spin is right here, but it's got to be an even number on the second spin. Okay, so that's right here. Odd number on the first spin, even number on the second spin. Odd number on the first spin, even number in the second spin. Let's go again. Odd number on the first spin, even number in the second spin. Odd number in the first spin, even number in the second spin. There's no other place where we have an odd number on the first spin and an even number in the second spin. So what we want to do right now, again, probability is the number of successes we have, so how many are there, divided by our total outcomes. So we need to count that out. There are 4 successes right now. Give me a second to kind of get in here. Divided by 16 total outcomes. If I 4 times 4, which is 16, or if I add all those up, there's 16 total outcomes. And I can leave my answer just like that. The probability, we have a sum greater than 3. Okay, well, we want to look now. I'll use a different highlighter. Or a different color, excuse me. I'll use blue. So a sum greater than 3. So this is a sum of 2. This is a sum of 3. This is a sum of 3. So everything else has a sum greater than 3. This is something where you might want to use the complement rule. But since I'm highlighting them all, I'm just going to add them all up. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 spaces where the sum is greater than 3. Again, this is something where you maybe want to use the complement rule, saying, okay, well, what's the opposite of that? That would be 3 or less, right? So there's 1, 2, 3, minus 16, which is 13 out of 16. If that went over your head, don't worry about it. Just know, hey, I need to know a sum greater than 3. I highlighted that in blue. I counted it all up, divided by my total outcome, 16, and I can leave my answer just like that. All right, finally, the probability, we have the same number on both spins. So let's look and see, where do we have the same number on both spins? I'm going to use a different highlighter this time. Or a different color, excuse me. Same number on both spins. That's right here, 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 and here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 16 total. And so let me just write that down, and we will be done here in about a second. All right, don't stop the video yet. Let me tell you what you need to do. What you need to do right now is you need to go on Schoology. You should be on there already, obviously. And you need to open up Worksheet 2 and either print it off from home or just use it as a PDF and write your answers in a notebook sheet of paper. And you'll need to turn that in on Friday after we go through questions on it. You can reach me through email if you have any questions while you're watching this. Just let me know. Have a great day, guys.